continue this conversation now on the Ekiti governorship election as Arise News analyst, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, joins us in the studio. Professor, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think that's a good place to start it. The security element of the election. Would you say they have lived up to expectations? I mean, we've done this, it's become a ritual to have security as a part of our electoral process.
Heavy security.
Some will say militarized, but thank God we're still the police here now.
17,000.
Over. Yeah.
17,000. But I think this is quite marginal, considering that in the past we've had them said about 32,000 men have been moved.
Over 34,000.
Yeah, but now it's about less than 20,000. So it means that we're becoming less frenzy, hopefully, about the elections. And perhaps, of course, the security agency will probably have also done the analysis, and maybe Ekiti is seen as not necessarily a flashpoint, but all the same, they have to be on guard. And of course, you know, we have to have confidence in the reassurances given by the DIG, Kokumo, and of course, the PPR were there that we just had in Adejo. So we're looking forward to an election that will be free, fair, credible, and transparent, you know, irrespective of the tribunalization that we might expect at the end of the day. You know, but what is important is if the election goes on smoothly, like INEC has promised, and consistent with and in line with what we have seen in the last couple of elections in other off-season states, Ondo, Edo, you know, and of course what we also expect to see in Osun that is coming afterwards. You know, we can be optimistic really that all the pieces are fit very well into the jigsaw. So we should hope for a good election tomorrow.
All right, then what do you clearly think is really going to play out tomorrow? You have Shegun on one side already stating his own terms and conditions, you know, for accepting the results that will come out. If you ask me, it almost seems as if he's got very shaky faith in the whole process playing out. But what do you think is going to play out?
Well, I think that usually in the pre-election stage, you see this tension and anxiety among the strongest political parties featuring some of the strongest candidates. And sometimes it goes even to the election itself. Just a few hours ago, there was this story about the court, you know, disqualifying a particular candidate massively. You know, we also had rebuttal that it was actually fake. That created an initial anxiety, you know. So these things are not unexpected given the character of our elections. And of course, after the elections as well, I do not, going by the history of our elections, I do not expect, well, I will be happy to be disappointed for the losing candidates to congratulate the winner, but I do not expect those kind of things to happen. I expect resort to court, which is okay within their rights, you know, but if, as long as these things are done peacefully, nobody will complain. But do not forget that, you know, the elections, the candidates featuring, you know, the election process actually goes beyond the candidates featuring. They are believed to be sponsored by some very influential candidates themselves, one by the incumbent governor, rightly or wrongly, the other one by a former governor, you know, and of course the third one, a governor himself, a former governor himself, Shegun that is. So we have strong personalities with strong supporters, so you expect some level of tension, you know, but the gratifying thing is that security agencies are on ground, and of course the process, you know, is going to be transparent as much as far as INEC has assured us. So with all these things coming together, we can just begin to expect that there won't be any major concern at the end of the day.
Well, it is said that there are no perfect elections anywhere in the world. Not even the oldest democracies have them. But we can move closer to something perfect. And we've had some negative recurring decimals. Vote buying, voter apathy, and you talked about our elections. Let me just quote the figures that we have. Ekiti State has a population set to be around 3.2 million, or a little above that. INEC is saying only 734,746 residents picked up their permanent voter cards. That's a tiny fraction of the population. What does that say about the people and their attitude towards election? And we know it's one thing to pick up the PVCs, it's another thing to register and vote.
I think the question of voter apathy is not peculiar to Nigeria, not as if peculiar to Africa, or even any election anywhere in the world. But what matters is, and that's why we always say that there has to be some level of awareness creation in the pre-election period. And that creation of awareness should not be limited to the electoral empire alone. The party themselves have responsibility to mobilize the people, for them to realize that yes, they feel the electionary air around them, but it's not just enough feeling it. You have to participate in it. You have to be a participant in the process. So it needs conscientization, promotion of continuous awareness, realizing that they have an inalienable right, to determine who governs them next, And of course, it doesn't just from between this night and tomorrow, of course, you expect to see some more mobilization. And of course, this mobilization does not end just with mouth, of course, what we all know will happen, some kind of inducement here and there. That's also another downside of our democracy, another unfortunate character of our democracy. But again, that will also have to be solved through consistent conscientization, creation of awareness, that could probably lead to behavior change, maybe deliberate behavior change communication, so that we know that we'll have a task in our hand. It is not enough to be good with timetable, with scheduling these processes. What about the character of the process, the content of the process? We have to be mindful of it so that we can, our election process can be value-laden, can be virtue-oriented, as the case could be.
Now, talking about communication, Prof, let's take a look at INEC itself in terms of their own readiness as well. We do know, of course, on election days, all sorts of stories come up. You said that there's a problem with the machine as it is. Those have actually raised, questions and said there might be hiccups to the issue of, internet providers and whatnot on that very day. The possibility of the machine being moved from one area, one polling unit to the other, just for that search of service. And in that process, the people who might feel that they're about, to be left out. There are those who say that, what's going to play out in Ekiti is a true test for how well INEC is going to handle what's coming in 2023. What do you speak, what do you say to this particular challenge rearing its head up tomorrow? What provisions do you think should be made should this happen?
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern, but overall, there's no perfect technology anywhere in the world, and sometimes you have glitches, you have hitches, What matters is the kind of backup, the kind of remedy you have put in place to deal with it the moment it comes up, What are the alternatives, And of course, INEC maybe deserves some level of commendation, trying to get us electronic, in our voting process. And of course, it has brought about improvement in terms of quality because of the instantaneous rendition of results, making the process a little more inanimate, reducing the human interaction with the process so that they cannot manipulate it, So yes, the process is on. Yes, there might be imperfections because of a problem with power, and even logistics in terms of transportation, because of the ruralness of communities getting there on time. You might have some of these hitches, these glitches tomorrow, but how fast will they be able to respond to it? That's what matters. And maybe the percentage, at the end of the percentage of glitches that we're going to be having, as long as it's not much to affect the overall result, then I think everybody will come to a level of satisfaction, hoping that in the future, maybe in the build-up to Osun election, even before the general election, for instance, that we can perfect it to a level where we can all be satisfied reasonably.
Well, there are 16 political parties, 16 candidates, and of course they have put manifestos in this election. What do you think would be the deciding factor in a state such as Ekiti, which is seen mostly as a civil servant state?
It's a state that is struggling with resources, although they have very great intellectuals. Some of the best brains in this country are from Ekiti. Prominent lawyers, some of the best in this country are from Ekiti. But of course, they still have limited resources. And of course, they are very good migrants as well, locally and internally. They're doing well in Lagos, in the urban centers, in foreign countries as well. So what do we expect? Like all elections in Nigeria.
Sorry, just a cut in there. You don't think having the best brains and the best minds is enough resource?
Well, it's one of these. Well, it's an excellent resource, but sometimes it might not be enough. There are other things, that actually could play out. Well, that's internal, really. What about the factors that are external to your ability to perform? But good observation anyway. So the point is, on the other end, it might be okay to imagine that the influence of the godfathers, you know, might be a major determinant, irrespective of the programs that they have outlined. You know, do not forget that we made reference to the fact that we're looking at Abiodun Adeniyi, for instance. We are looking at Kolawole, but then in looking at them, we also know that they have some good backers, you know, whose name are obvious to you.
Former governors,
incumbent governor, and the other one, the former governor himself. So these are influential people, and they should have interest in who governs their state. No
Already
doubt.
looking
so
like an interesting election to watch out for. Thank you so much, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, Around News Analyst, for being here tonight.